Chapter 100. Curses. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land, and all thy labours shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed alway. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees, and in the legs, with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive oil shall cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favour to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fence walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you, and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left to him in the siege, and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass that, as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good, and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68. These curses are the antithesis of all the blessings of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 to 14. The rejection of God's covenant law means that the covenant becomes an overwhelming flood of judgment. All men, all races, tribes, tongues, and peoples are under the curse of Adam's fall. Genesis chapter 3, verses 17 to 19. Those who are the peoples of the covenant, that is, Jews and Christians, are doubly under the curse for rejecting the covenant as renewed in Abraham, Moses, and Jesus Christ. The number 7 is a type of fullness, of totality. In verse 22, 7 judgments pursue Israel, both from men and pestilences, for faithlessness. There is no probability here, only certainty. Irresistible curses pursue the faithless people. Over-civilized men who feel too wise to need God are reduced by these curses to the level of the animal he believes man to be. Verses 53 and 54, that is, resorting to cannibalism. So Otto Scott has said, God is no buttercup. In verse 63 we are told, As the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and bring you to naught. Men see only a progression of population, whereas history tells us of times of depopulation as a result of God's judgments. The preference of men and nations is to confuse the line between good and evil. Men resent a clear distinction between good and evil, white and black. They prefer a universal grey, with a few villains classified as possibly black. A common type of question asked by such persons aims at a fuzzing of moral boundaries. What God does here is to draw the line sharply and clearly. Good and evil cannot be confused without sin. In verse 21, the word pestilence can also be rendered death. Death cleaves to the godless to eliminate them from the land. This is why the law itself is eschatological and postmillennial. God's law works to eliminate evil. If men and nations do not apply it, God applies it against them in judgments. In verses 23 and 24, we are told that God uses the weather to judge men and nations. Drought will destroy their fields and reduce men to hunger and death. Diseases and madness will overtake God's enemies, verses 27 to 29, so that men shall grope at noonday as a blind gropeth in darkness. This means that the most obvious things will become incomprehensible to those who reject God the King. Enemies will overcome them, verse 25. Moreover, their wives, children, and possessions will fall into enemy hands, verses 30 to 36. A people once free and powerful will amaze the world by the extent of their collapse and fall, verse 37. At every turn, perverse circumstances will overwhelm a perverse people, verses 37 following. The curse will continue and intensify against a perverse and apostate people, verses 38 to 68. They will, in effect, be returned to Egypt, that is, to captivity and bondage. Just as Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 to 14 promises earthly blessings, so too verses 15 to 68 promise earthly curses. In verses 15 to 24, the promised curses are against the people and their land. In verses 25 to 48, God's curse drives them from the land. Then, in verses 49 to 68, God smashes them for failing to learn from all his judgments that he requires repentance and obedience. The promise is of the death of Israel for covenant faithlessness. This meant that, in time, Israel was replaced by the church, Galatians chapter 6, verse 16, as the true Israel of God. The church now and the Christian nations are no less subject to rejection for faithlessness. What begins as drought and sickness becomes epidemics, disease, disgrace, and death. Every aspect of life is cursed, mind and body, economy and foreign relations, and everything else. Both blessings and curses are total. Man wants a blurred and indistinct line between good and evil, whereas God's judgment in history moved to clarify the lines men seek to erase. The curses, like the blessings, are on the people and the land. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, Adam is told by God, "Cursed is the ground for thy sake." In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 to 14, the ground and man are blessed by man's obedience. In verses 15 to 68, they are cursed by his disobedience. Blessings mean freedom and prosperity. Curses mean captivity and disasters. As Honeycutt noted, these verses tell us that, first, causality governs us. There is a causal relationship between disobedience and curses, verse 15. Second, every aspect of life comes under the curse, verses 16, 18 to 19. Third, because God is the Lord over all things, he uses men and nations, the weather and diseases to judge a people, verses 20 to 68. The curses are progressive. The people are given time to come to their senses and return to God and his covenant law. Apart from God, the covenant breakers will find no ease, no peace, verse 65. Instead, they shall have a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. The failing of eyes means that, because sin blinds them, they will not recognize the most obvious facts. They will be self-blinded. Nothing will help men who will not seek help from God. Having denied their Creator and covenant God, they have denied life and affirmed death. In Proverbs chapter 8, verses 35 and 36, we are told, "For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favour of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death." For a law-abiding man, the law, if it be God's law, is life and protection. For the lawless, it means condemnation and death. One of the most tragic developments in history has been antinomianism in the Church. The rejection of the law by the Church is an affirmation of death, because grace is the concomitant of law. We are surrounded by the culture of death. We see it in great things and small. Years ago, I first learned that it would be wise to separate myself from a brilliant thinker when I discovered that, despite his serious health problems, he had a studied contempt for the rules of health. He saw them as unworthy of serious concern. Since then, his course has been suicidal. This example can be repeated countless times. Man's suicidal drive is apparent in a variety of areas. Deuteronomy chapter 28 tells us that we live in a world of laws, and that curses and blessings inescapably and irresistibly pursue us. The rules are made by God, not by man. The blessings and curses are God-ordained, and they are the conditions of life. Those who try to create their own conditions invite God's judgment.